Welcome to the Rock and Wellness Podcast, the show that takes you on a voyage to better health, wellness, and happiness that will rock your world. With me, Rachel Joy Olson, your host, your coach, and your biggest fan. Welcome, everyone, to today's masterclass on overcoming obstacles, turning challenges into stepping stones. Throughout our journey toward personal and professional goals, we inevitably encounter challenges. How we perceive and respond to these obstacles significantly influences our success. So today in our masterclass, we'll explore strategies to not only face these challenges, but also transform them into opportunities for growth. Obstacles are an inherent part of any goal-setting journey. It's going to happen. As soon as you set a goal, you can pretty much bet that an obstacle is going to happen. They're going to come up, and they can range from external setbacks to simple or complicated internal doubts. Recognizing that these challenges are natural, though, allows us to approach them with a proactive mindset. Our perception and reaction to obstacles are crucial because obstacles can either hinder or progress or serve as a catalyst for personal development. So basically, obstacles can either help us grow and pivot into a path that's even better than what we were on, or take us out of the game. And of course, that's not what we want. I'm sure we've all been there. So let's dive into some common obstacles that many of us face as soon as we set a goal. So the first and most common one is fear of failure. So this is the apprehension that our efforts might not lead to success, and this fear can be extremely paralyzing. It can come to the point where many people at this point would rather not accomplish their goal than fail. So it takes us right out of the game. Lack of clarity. So this is where you might be uncertain about your goal or the path to achieve them, and this can lead to stagnation or even that opportunity for quitting. Procrastination, this is delaying actions that are necessary for progress, which often stems from various underlying fears to uncertainties. There's many things that where procrastination comes into play. Limited resources, so this could be constraints in time, money, or support. All of these things can impede our advancement when we're going towards our goals. External setbacks, these are unforeseen events such as economic downturns, maybe a personal crisis. Any of these things might disrupt our plans. These are things that we haven't planned for the most part. And these are things that can, again, either allow you to build strength for your opportunity to grow or take you right out. So identifying which of these resonate with our experiences is the first step towards addressing them effectively. So right now, I would encourage you to take a look at your goal, or maybe some goals that you've tried to accomplish in the past, and then think of some obstacles that have taken you down previously. Maybe you've been scared to fail, maybe you just weren't sure, maybe you had limited resources. And then I want you to, when you're setting your new goals, if you've got a new goal you're working towards, I want you to think about any of these obstacles that could potentially take you out of the game. Now, our mindset, so powerful. Our mindset is really the most powerful thing, and it's usually going to be the deciding factor that makes or breaks us. So our mindset plays a pivotal role in how we tackle challenges. Embracing a growth mindset, so always focusing on viewing challenges as an opportunity to learn and grow rather than sitting there in a negative mindset going, why is this happening to me? Why aren't things coming together? Why did this happen? I was going in such a great pace and all of a sudden this massive thing came. Why is this happening? But if we can look at those challenges as opportunities to learn and grow and maybe pivot, this can empower us to navigate obstacles more effectively and figure out better ways around them. And honestly, I truly believe that obstacles come in our path for a reason. They're there for a couple of things. They're there to either test you to see if you actually really mean that you want to accomplish this goal, right? Is this something that you really want? Or they're there because we need to pivot, because what we thought we wanted isn't exactly what we wanted, and there's a better path. Just remembering always that resilience and adaptability are key components of this mindset and enabling us to adjust our strategies and persist despite setbacks. And that persistence and consistency is really key to any goal, everybody's going to have an obstacle. Everybody's going to have a setback. Everybody's going to have an opportunity where they start to question, is this something I really want? It's getting hard, but it's that persistent and consistency that happens. I was hanging out with a few musicians this afternoon, and some of the musicians, or sorry, this past weekend, and some of the musicians that won, really basically they just said, we're only here because we didn't quit. Right. And that's so true. The people that achieve their goals are the ones that didn't quit. That's just essentially what it is. And mindset, having a positive mindset, is one of the biggest keys to accomplishing those goals. So let's go over now some practical strategies to overcome obstacles. Well, first and foremost, we need to identify and acknowledge specific challenges that you are facing or that you may potentially face as you set your goals and start on your path to accomplishing these goals. Really acknowledging and recognizing is the first step toward resolution, because there's a couple of things. You can plan for if and when they do happen. You've got a plan to go around them, whatever you need to do, around, under, over, whatever that plan is. So really identifying and acknowledging that these things could come up, what might come up, and then figure out a plan. You also might want to break down your goals. So divide larger objects into smaller, more manageable tasks. So sometimes when our goals are too big, that in itself puts a massive obstacle in our way, because too big of goals can overwhelm us and, again, take us out of the game. So if you break down your goals, it will reduce that overwhelm, and it provides a clear action plan. It allows you to say, okay, what is step one? What is step two? Somebody who's on the path to, let's say, for example, weight loss, it's a good one just for numbers. Let's say somebody has 50 pounds to lose or 100 pounds to lose. Somebody might look at that big number and think, well, that's never going to happen. Like, it's way too hard. It's going to take way too long. But then if they break it down and say, okay, I'm going to lose 1 pound this week. Well, all of a sudden it's like, okay, I can do that. I just need to do this step, this step, this step. And then they achieve that goal, and it's not so overwhelming. The next thing to do is seek support. So engage with mentors, peers, or support groups. Sharing challenges can provide new perspectives and solutions when obstacles arise. Again, it might be an opportunity to connect with somebody who has experience accomplishing that goal. Maybe you're trying to build a business or something like that, or write a book. You might be able to find a support group or somebody who's actually accomplished that goal and learn how they did it, and learn about what some of the obstacles that came up for them and how you might be able to prevent or find a way to get around them. And then develop contingency plans. So anticipate, as we already mentioned, anticipate potential challenges and prepare alternative strategies in advance. So by doing this preparation, you will be ready for any setbacks that come along your way. So any obstacles that come into your path, you will know how to deal with them, and it won't derail your progress. You'll be able to look at it like, okay, this is just an opportunity for me to go into plan B, or to pivot slightly, or, I never thought of that obstacle arising, but hey, you know what? Now I can develop a plan that is even better for me to do. So just remember that implementing these strategies can transform obstacles into manageable components of your journey, which is exactly what you want. You want to make things manageable. You want to make things, in essence, challenging, but still doable. So let's take a moment now for some personal reflection. So if you have a journal around you, if you have the book Create and Manifest Your Vision, Your Intention and Goal Setting Workbook, that is something that if you don't have it, feel free to find that at rjowellness.com, or available on Amazon as well. And it's such a great workbook. And for those of you who are in the Masterclass, of course, your downloadable worksheets, your printable worksheets are in your course program. So think about these. So let's focus on a recent obstacle you have faced. I want you to ask yourself, first of all, identify it. What was it? And then how did it impact your progress? So if you are listening to this later on, I want you just to pause right now and take out that piece of paper, take out your workbook, and think about this. So reflecting on a recent obstacle that you faced, and then ask yourself, what was it and how did it impact your progress? Did it derail you? Did it allow you the opportunity to pivot? What happened there? Now, I want you to address this challenge and I want you to think about it. How did you address this obstacle? What did you do? What strategies did you employ? Were you prepared for this obstacle? Did it completely surprise you and take you off guard? I want you to write that down now. So, how did you address this challenge and what strategies did you employ? And finally, what lessons did you learn from this experience? Because obstacles are always an opportunity for us to learn. Usually, it's in our failures and in the obstacles where the biggest growth comes from. Usually accomplishing things is not where growth happens, sadly. We always learn and listen to stories of people who had massive, massive setbacks in their lives or massive struggles. And we look at them as such huge inspirations because getting through some of those things for many of us seems impossible. And yet it's always possible to get through some sort of setback or obstacles. So, just reminding yourself that as you do this personal reflection, I encourage you to take the time to do that, but just reminding yourself that reflecting on past obstacles and your responses to them provides valuable insights for future challenges so that you will be prepared. Hey, you know what? I did this once. I can absolutely do this again if something comes up again. Now, establishing a resilient routine allows you to kind of fight against or be prepared for potential obstacles. So, incorporate daily practices such as mindfulness, regular exercise, and adequate rest to strengthen mental and emotional resilience. We need to be strong enough in our mental, emotional, and physical being in order to even take care of and deal with obstacles. Think about when you're exhausted. Think about, physical exhaustion, mental exhaustion, emotional exhaustion. And then the smallest little thing could arise and it sets you off on a massive tangent. But if you were to be well rested, you feel really good about yourself, you might just look at this obstacle or this, thing that comes up and go, yeah, I can deal with this, no big deal. So it's really important that when you've got your consistent, healthy routines taking care of yourself, this can create stability, making it even easier to navigate unforeseen challenges. And if you're sitting there thinking, man, I really haven't been taking care of myself that well, please reach out. I mean, that is exactly why, this masterclass exists. It is exactly why I think I exist, is to help people bring kind of all those aspects together, bridging that gap between the mind, the body, and soul, and really supporting each other in taking care of the self in order to man, in order to deal with this thing that we call life, I suppose. Now, acknowledging and celebrating small victories is absolutely essential for maintaining motivation. I think too many of us look to the big picture and then always are looking for what's next. Okay, yeah, I did that. What's next? Yeah, okay, I did that. What's next? Where outside people might think, wow, that was an amazing accomplishment. For example, you may have written a book and go, okay, great, that's out there. Now what's next? Where that's a huge accomplishment, an absolute massive accomplishment that should be celebrated. Let's say you're somebody who's just starting on your wellness journey or your weight loss journey, and getting the running shoes on to head out to the door to go to the gym has always been the hardest part, and yet you do it. And let's say you've done it for the last month. That's a huge victory. I heard a story not too long ago of somebody who said that there was a gentleman, I think it was a personal trainer that I work with, had said that one of his clients, it took him a month of grabbing his gym bag, driving to the gym, parking, basically looking at the door, and then going home. And he did that for a month just to build up his confidence before he came through the door. And even just getting out the door and driving to the gym, whether or not you go in at this point, is a big victory for someone who may have been even too intimidated to do that. So then the next victory would be walking through the door, saying hi to, let's say, the person greeting you at the gym, and then saying, all right, cheers, have a great day, I'm out. That could be the next victory. And then the next victory is walking through, scanning your card, walking through, taking a look around, maybe going down to the change rooms, and again, peace out, I'm out. And then the next victory would be, okay, I'm going to start working with a trainer. They're going to take me around the gym. They're going to help me, get confident in my ability to use the equipment and to start on my journey. Huge win, right? Of course, having a trainer, having some sort of coach and support is also a great way to have that support system in place when things get tough. Then maybe the next step is, okay, I'm going to do this on my own. And then it just goes from there. So celebrating each step forward, no matter how minor, signifies progress and reinforces your commitment to these goals. These celebrations really serve as reminders of our capabilities and the strides that we've made, so that when you look back, you can go, wow, you know, I never used to be able to do that, and now I can. That's a pretty cool way to celebrate. So let's explore kind of a further on to that real life example of overcoming significant challenges. And I will continue to use that person who's looking to shed excess body fat to look better, feel better in their own skin, maybe to gain better health. And of course, I'm going to use this example because it's something that I've been doing for almost 30 years now, is helping people step into that place of feeling better in their own skin. I'm a big believer that you don't need to be shredded. You don't need to have the perfect body, but all of us just want to look and feel better in our own skin. And of course, it comes down to health, right? If we don't have our health, we don't really have a whole lot. So everyone's reasons for accomplishing this goal, let's say it's a weight loss or health goal, might be different, but the actions to get there are very similar for the most part. Of course, there might be strenuous circumstances that may vary, such as chronic disease, certain physical situations, maybe injuries that may slow progress. But for the most part, if you want to lose weight, you must be consistent in these four things. Now, the very first one, and probably 75, if not more, would be nutrition. We all know that bodies, I kind of come from a bodybuilding background back in the day, but, the old adage was always bodies are built in the kitchen. And it's true. What we put in our mouths is how our body is built. So if we are putting processed foods in our bodies don't have much nutrition to build and repair and be healthy. So 75% of any weight loss or health battle is nutrition. And the sad reality about today's world is that nutrition is not thought of as an important part. And I used to teach personal trainers and certify personal trainers again back in the day. And I used to always say, put it this way. All right. I usually kind of looked at the young men in the class and said, okay, what's your favorite car? So some of them would be like, I don't know, Maserati, Ferrari. Oh, it'd be so cool to drive one of those. And I said, well, if you had one of those, what kind of gas would you put in it? Would you put regular gas in it? And they're like, of course not. You'd buy the best. You'd put premium in. You'd probably buy the most expensive you could find, because it's worth it. And so I'd say, okay, take a look at that, right? The fuel in your car that you put in your car is nothing more than its nutrition. And the better quality nutrition you give your car, the better it will run. And you could just see the looks on their faces when they just went, oh, okay, now I get it. So our nutrition is our fuel, and we are a high performance machine. And we will not run to our best capacity if proper nutrition isn't put in there. Now, I'm not sitting here as somebody who's absolutely perfect in her nutrition. Don't get me wrong. I am absolutely not, but I think, I really believe in that 80-20 rule, that if 80% of the time you can eat, really great whole food nutrition diet, with whole food being the key. I'm a big fan of whole food nutrition. We need fiber, we need protein, we need whole grain carbohydrates. And of course, there's so many different thought processes out there of what's the best ever. But, fiber is the number one thing we need to keep our digestive system healthy. We need it to basically prevent colon cancer and keep our digestive tract moving. Super, super important. Of course, you only get fiber from whole foods. Of course, we need protein. Protein is not the most important macronutrient, despite what people would say. And of course, I say that as my own opinion. Please do your research and form your own opinions, but protein is there to recover and repair our bodies. We absolutely need it to recover and repair. We need it to build tissue. So we have to have it, right? And then we need to have, carbohydrates. And I'm not talking processed carbohydrates. I'm talking whole food, complex carbohydrates that are clean. We need that for fiber, and we need that to fuel our bodies. So our bodies run, for the most part, on carbohydrates. Now, again, there's different situations. There's different chronic diseases that might need a change in nutrition. So, of course, I really encourage you to go with what resonates with you. So because there's so many different thoughts on nutrition out there, I think it's important, just that, is to go with what resonates with you. What makes sense to you? And if it makes sense, go for it. Okay. Of course, nutrition is a topic that I talk about a lot and will talk a lot in later classes and as we move forward, but we will leave it there for now. But just the real case in point is nutrition is something that you have to be consistent with if better health and weight loss is your goal. Then the next one would be cardiovascular training. So this does not mean that you've got to slug it out on the treadmill for an hour a day. However, it's probably about 15%. Now, walking, and I find it really interesting that walking has become a very common and popular activity amongst women over 40 because it has shown that, walking, especially outside, but just moving the body in kind of that fat burning zone is something that's really beneficial for those of us over 40 and heading into perimenopause and menopause, as it's not too hard on our body. So we have to remind ourselves that as much we want to put our body under a little bit of stress to have change, we don't want to overdo it. Too much stress can cause inflammation. Of course, it can cause injury. But regular cardiovascular training, remembering that, what we see on the outside, the muscles, the fat that we see, of course, are important, but it's more of the organs on the inside, the visceral fat that's in there. And of course, our most important muscle, which is our heart. And that's what we need cardiovascular training for. Then probably 5%, some people might fight me on this, but I know that some of the gurus and things in the bodybuilding world, even that I follow, they're like, resistance training is probably about 5%. It's extremely important. And especially as we look at the research for women over 40, it is so important for those of us in that age group to, and really any age group. I've been weight training since I was 15 years old. I've always found it feels good. And I've just known the benefits, and I think that I've got like the super major strong bones because of it. I broke a bone in my hand a few years ago and the doctor was like, I've never seen such strong bones. So I think that's because I started so young with resistance training. So resistance training, of course, as we know, builds muscle, builds up our metabolism. So really important. And then I wanted to add here, sometimes this one isn't thought of much, and that's recovery. Recover being super important. I just threw that as 5% in here, but for some people, it's even more important. So when we're working on our cardiovascular and our resistance training, especially, we are breaking down muscle tissue. And in order for that muscle tissue to be built back up, we need number one, proper nutrition. And number two, we need recovery. So about 4 or 5 times a week would be perfect for resistance training, depending on your goals. Of course, a minimum 3 times a week is usually recommended. Cardiovascular training, depending on your level of intensity, really can happen every day because I believe that the body should move 7 days a week, right? With some of those days being a little bit higher in intensity. And recovery. So recovery can be resting on the couch if you want to. It can be an active recovery, maybe not, just a nice gentle walk. It could be a matter of doing some mindfulness, doing some yoga, lots of different things. Now, keep in mind when you are staying consistent, there are things that are probably going to stand in your way. There are obstacles that are going to come up. And these could be injuries, these could be personal and professional commitments. All of the things that we've already discussed can come up. But the one thing that will keep you going, no matter what comes up, no matter what obstacle comes up and stands in your way, and no matter what your goal is, will be your ability to decide you're going to do this no matter what, and your dedication to the goal. The only reason why or way you're going to do this is if you decide and you make it important enough to you. So if you have decided to stop pursuing your goal wasn't that important to you. So it's kind of a harsh reality when you think about it that way, but it's true. If you are easily swayed or a simple little obstacle comes up and it throws you off, your goal just wasn't that important to you. So this example really illustrates that with determination, adaptability, and the right strategies, substantial obstacles can be transformed into opportunities for growth and success. You can do anything you want to if you decide and stay dedicated to it. Now, I encourage you now to commit to actionable steps. So start by identifying a current obstacle that you're facing. Write down and outline a plan to overcome it using the strategies that we've discussed in today's masterclass. And commit to specific actions. Once you commit to these specific actions, it will empower you to transform challenges into opportunities for growth. So spend some time on actually making that commitment to action. Now, to further support your journey in overcoming obstacles, there's just a few recommended resources. Of course, first and foremost, the Create and Manifest Your Vision, Intention, and Goal Setting Workbook, really important. Again, you can find that at rjowellness.com or on Amazon. The blog at rjowellness.com, I've got a few articles and resources on there. And of course, for those of you in the Masterclass group, you have that support. You've got that extra opportunity to ask questions and find that support from your peers and from myself. And if you're interested in looking into that masterclass or joining us in this masterclass, you can find that information on rjowellness.com as well and under work with me. Some other things too, some other resources you might want to look into are inspirational novels. I like reading, self-help books or even inspirational novels that kind of, when you read it, it's a story, like a parable that kind of gives you that inspiration, maybe a memoir. So a couple that are kind of popular is The Alchemist. And this is the story that follows the shepherd boy. His name is Santiago, into the journey across North Africa to the Egyptian pyramids after he dreams of finding treasure there. And it goes through his journey of who he meets and kind of what he needs to overcome to find or to get to his final destination. So if you like Paulo Coelho, he's got some very interesting novels, and they're usually inspirational in some way. Educated, we read this for a book club once by Tara Westover. This is a memoir about overcoming difficult childhood circumstances and pursuing education. So again, this is something that you can look at somebody who has overcome some massive obstacles and kind of think, if she can do it, I think I can too. Another one that I found, that I have not read this one, but I thought it looked really interesting, is Life is So Good by George Dawson and Richard Glaubman. And I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but it's a memoir of a 101-year-old man who learned to read late in life and reflects on his philosophy of life. And I thought that one sounds very interesting about the obstacles that this man would have gone through. So there's so many more. Do you have a favorite? If you do have a favorite, I'd love to hear it. If you're in the masterclass right now, write it in the comments. I would absolutely love to hear if you had any other favorite inspirational books. Really exploring these materials, any resources that you can, finding additional insights and strategies to navigate challenges effectively will only help further you on your path. Now, in closing, remember that obstacles are an integral part of any meaningful journey. Embracing them with a proactive and resilient mindset will transform challenges into stepping stones that will get you towards your goals. So I want to thank everybody today for your participation, for listening to the class today. And I really hope that we can continue to support each other in overcoming obstacles and achieving our aspirations. So for those of you in the masterclass now, I'd like to open the floor for questions and discussion. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions right now. And again, you can pause this and reflect on that or participate in the group discussion. So what obstacles have you encountered in your journey towards your goals? And the next question would be, what strategies have you found effective in overcoming these challenges? So just remember that, sharing our experiences here fosters a supportive community and provides diverse perspectives on tackling obstacles, because one person's experience might actually help inspire you. So let's open that up to discussion now.
Thanks for joining me on this episode of the Rockin' Wellness Podcast. Make sure to visit my website at www.rjowellness.com, where you can subscribe to the show and check out all the show notes. While you're at it, if you found value in this podcast, I'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if you'd simply tell a friend about it, that would help out too. You may choose to join the R.J.O Wellness community to take advantage of the freebies, courses, and coaching that will take your voyage to the next level, or support this podcast with your monthly membership. Until next time, my friends, keep rocking your wellness.